This is a CCEA Mathematics 4 higher tier paper from November 2021. Let's take a look at question 1. Trapezium is drawn below. Calculate its height y. So the way this trapezium is, because that's 5 and that's 5, there's kind of a line of symmetry here, and because that's 7 and that's 11, that means that wee bit there must be 2, and I guess equivalently then that wee bit there would be 2. So we can actually take this wee right angled triangle here and just use Pythagoras then to find our y. So that's y, that's 2, and that's 5. So if that's C, that's A, and that's B, then A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Y squared plus 2 squared is 4 equals 25. So y squared is 21, and y then is the square root of 21. Put that in your calculator and the 2 decimal places. You get 4.58. Question 2. A number expressed as a product of prime factors is 2 squared times 3 times 5 squared. This number is multiplied by 9. Write the new number as a product of prime factors. So it's going to be 2 squared times 3 squared times 5 squared. You see what I've done there? I've just put in the 9 there in the middle, in with the 3, just to make it a wee bit more straightforward. So that gives us then 2 squared times 3 to the power 3 times 5 squared. Is this new number a square number? You must explain your answer. It's not a squared number because each of the powers would need to be multiples of 2. I mean, if that doesn't make sense, don't worry about it. Just stick the numbers in, work out what it is. Obviously, this here number here, I think, then was kind of 300 or something like that. Sorry, write the new number is probably 5. That's fine. And then just kind of work out the other numbers. So 2700, and just work out that it's not a square number. That would be fine as well. Jane completes a 5-kilometer race in 24 minutes. Calculate her average speed in kilometers per hour. So we need to work this here out in hours. So it's 24 over 60. They both divide by 12. So it's 2/5, or then 0.4. Distance then. So we don't want the distance, we want speed, which is distance over time. Speed then is 5 over 0.4, and 5 divided by 0.4, again checking your calculator, you get 12.5 kilometers per hour. Last year a company made a profit of 152,650. This year the company made a profit of 104,760. Work out the percentage decrease in the company's profit. Give your answer to 1 decimal place. So first of all, we need to work out the decrease in the profit. So it's 152,650. Take away 104,760. If you take those away, you get 47890. So that's the decrease in the company's profit. So as a percentage then, 47890 all over 152,650 times by 100%. That would get us in a percentage. So if we go 47890 divided by 152,650 equals times by 100 equals, so that's 31.37. So we're asked for it then to the 1 decimal place. So that's going to be 31.4%. James can throw a javelin 49 meters. His target is to throw 4% further each year. If he stays on target, how many years will it be before he can throw a javelin 55 meters? Show your work and justify your answer. So the first year is that. So a year later, I mean, we can work out 1% and then find 4% and add it on. But the wee trick for that is to really multiply by 1.04. Feel free to do it the slow way. Totally fine. That'll give you then 50.96. Now remember, it's 4% of the new amount. So we now times this by 1.04. 52.998. And then this new point again by 1.04. So there's a number I add in the calculator, multiply by 1.04. That's adding 4% to it, 55.11. So that's now over 55. 55.12 actually, but that's okay. So the answer then is going to be 3 years. The number of hours of daily sunshine is recorded at a resort during 4 months. Calculate an estimate of the mean number of daily sunshine at the resort during the 4 months. So we need to find our midpoint first of all, and then it's going to be midpoint times by frequency. Midpoint here then 1.5, 4.5, 7.5, 10.5 and 13.5. Midpoint times frequency here, and 27, and then 45 times 4.5, 202.5, 37 times 7.5, 277.5, 19 times 10.5 is 199.5, and then 4 times 13.5 is then going to be 54. So we need to add these up. So it's 54 plus 199.5 plus 277.5 plus 202.5 plus 27, and that gives us 760.5. If we times up then our frequencies, 18 plus 45 plus 37 plus 19 plus 4, that gives us then 123. So we're nearly there. We're in 3 marks out of 4 so far, I would have thought. So estimated mean then is 760.5 all over 123, and you put that into your calculator and you get 6.18 hours. Janet sees a scatter graph which displays the age and blood pressure of 10 adults. You can see age going along the bottom here and blood pressure. Janet's 41 and her father is 84. She comments that a good estimate for her blood pressure would be 139, while it's a good estimate for her father's would be 156. Do you think her estimates are reliable? Explain your reasoning clearly. If you go up at 41 and go up at 84, you do indeed get 139 and 156. So if you look, sometimes they kind of want you to show your working out here, but it doesn't really matter for this question. So we have that, and you read across, and sure enough, it is indeed 139. And if you go across at 84, let's go up, you do get your 156. So those are fine. The problem is all the way x's. So all the way x's are down around here. So hers is right in the middle. So hers is a good estimate. However, we don't know if it holds outside this range. This line here is just a bit of a guess. So that's really what I would say then. Janet's estimate is good for her. Her father's is outside the data readings, so may not be as reliable. I think that kind of, hopefully that makes sense. Question 8. The diagrams below show a square and an isosceles triangle. They both have the same perimeter. By forming and solving an equation, work out the perimeter. Perimeter of this first one, very straightforward. This is going to be 4c, because there's 4 of those c's to work out my perimeter. And then they're both the same, so that is equal to c plus 3 plus c plus 3 plus 5. 4c then equals 2c plus 11. Take away 2c from both sides. 2c is 11, and c then is 5.5. So you can either sub in the 5.5 in here, or in here, obviously the 4C one's easier, so 4C is equal to 5.5 times by 4, and that then gives 22. Next question, calculate the surface area, you can't see it, of a sphere with diameter 12 centimeters. First of all, we need to realize our radius then is going to be 6 centimeters, and if we go to our formula sheet, just inside your front cover there, surface area of a sphere is 4 pi r squared. So it's going to be 4 times pi times 36, which is our 6 squared. Put it into your calculator, you get 452.39. Calculate the size of the largest angle in the rhombus you must show you're working. So we're trying to find this angle here. That's going to be the biggest angle. It's the same as that one, whereas that's the smaller angle. What I'm going to do is split the rhombus like this, and those diagonals cross at right angles, and I'm then going to lift out this triangle here and draw it down here. So if I lift it out and draw it down here, what information do I have? This here is half the angle that we need. So whenever we get our answer, we're just going to double it then to kind of get this one here. Because this is 30, that's going to be 15, because it's half of it. And because this is 16, then that's going to be 8. And we call that x. Tan x, that's the opposite, sorry, that's the adjacent, and that's the hypotenuse. So it's a right angle triangle, so it's O and A I'm going to be using, so I'm going to be using tan. It's going to be then 15 over 8. X then is tan to the minus 1, 15 over 8. You put that into your calculator and you will get 61.9275. And then if we times that by 2, we're going to get 128.86. Mr. Davison's class did a test. The scores are shown on the box plot, but the box plot is incomplete. The range of scores is 25 more than the interquartile range. Use this information to complete the box plot. So the interquartile range is this distance here. So interquartile range then is going to be 32, take away 19, so it's 13. And that means then that the range is going to be 25 plus 13, which is 38. So it means then if this is 10, we've got to go 38 along here. So it's going to be at 48 is where my range then is going to finish. So I need to do my line there. The line going across here, and then that's my box plot completed. Explain why the interquartile range may be better measure of the spread for this distribution on the range. It's just because someone might have got 48 and then everybody else got way lower. So it means then there kind of gets rid of kind of extreme values. Range may have extreme value. Kevin scored 32 marks in the test. What percentage of the class scored lower than Kevin? So look, there's 32 there, so it's right here. And the way these are split up, the way the quartiles are split up, that's 25%, that's 25%, that's 25%, and that's 25%, so 75%. Then we're going to be below him. Sorry, the percentage is already in there. Part D. Mrs. Clark's class did the same test. Write two comparisons between the results of the two classes. So let's get this back so you can see both here and we can kind of compare. So to me then Mrs. Clark's had a larger range, but she had a smaller interquartile range. Also the mean here was 30, and for this here their median here was 30, so it looks like Mrs. Clark did slightly better. And I guess the marks are kind of a bit more consistent because the interquartile range is way smaller, so that would be two things. So Mrs. Clark got higher scores and were less spread out. Now notice that you see obviously the full range is bigger, but it's the interquartile range is a bit. That whole 50% there are right in this wee bit here, and so the scores then are less spread out. Question 12. A survey was carried out to estimate how many people own a smartphone. The results of the sample are shown below. Based on this sample, estimate the number of people in a town with a population of 15,000 who might own a smartphone. So 236 plus 64 gives us 300. So the ones that do own a smartphone is going to be 236 over 300 times by 15,000. Again, put that in your calculator, you get 11800. Sample data was obtained from a group of 17-year-olds. Do you think your result in A is an overestimate or an underestimate for the people in the town who own a smartphone? I think then, because it was done with 17-year-olds, they're kind of the main people who will have smartphones. So I think then it's going to be an overestimate. That's because 17-year-olds are very, very likely to have a phone, and older people may not. Outline a better way of obtaining the sample data. So it's not all 17-year-olds. 300 people, different age groups. Or something like that. Okay. Question 13. Solve this here. A solution by trial and proof will not be accepted. So I'm going to change the denominator here to 15. So I'm timesing top and bottom of this one then by 4. So that's going to, no I'm not, I'm times it by 3. Goodness. Sorry about that. Times top and bottom by 3 is obviously going to be 6x minus 3 over 15. Times top and bottom of this one by 5. 20x plus 25 all over 15. And don't forget this last one. Be 100 then over 15. I'm then going to times through everything by 15. And that gets rid of all my fractions. So I have then 6x minus 3 plus 20x plus 25 equals 100. On the left hand side, joining together my like terms, 26x plus 22 is 100. Take away 22 from both sides, 78. And I get then x equals 3. The value of John's house has risen by 3.5%. It is now worth 150075. What was the original value of John's house? Obviously this then is a reverse percentage. This isn't 100%, but it's 103.5%. 150075 is equal to 103.5%. So to get 1%, we're going to do 150075 divided by 103.5. If you do that on your calculator, you get 1450. And then to get 100%, obviously, you're going to times by 100, so you get 145,000. So it's £145,000. Expand and simplify 2x minus 5 upon 3x plus 2. 2x times 3x, using FOIL here, the two first terms is 6x squared outer plus 10x inner minus 15x, I've made a mistake here, we'll sort it out in a wee second. And then last minus 10, sorry. Outer is of course plus 4x. So let's just show you that again. First, 2x times 3x gives me 6x squared. Two outer ones, 2x times 2 is 4x. Inner minus 15x plus 10. Joining together then my like terms gives me 6x squared minus 11x minus 10. Got there eventually. Here we need to simplify this, so we need to factorize everything. The top is a difference of two squares. I hope you can spot that. So it's x minus 7 upon x plus 7. On the bottom is 2 upon x minus 7. Sometimes easier to see if you multiply the bracket. If you multiply 2 times x gives me 2x. 2 times the minus 7 is minus 14. So that then cancels with that. So I end up then with x plus 7 all over 2. Factorize 8x squared minus 10x minus 3. So 8 times the minus 3 is minus 24. So I need to multiply to give me minus 24. And then they're adding to give me minus 10. And so they must be, let me see, is it a 12 and a 2? Possibly, or something like that, I think. So yeah, minus 12 and 2. So I'm going to split my middle term here to 8x squared minus 12x plus 2x minus 3. In the line here, factorize this bit, so it's 4x upon 2x minus 3 plus 1 upon 2x minus 3, and that gives me then 4x plus 1 upon 2x minus 3. So we just write that in what the answers are soon. 4x plus 1 upon 2x minus 3. Question 16. The area of rectangle A is 4 times the area of B. By setting up and solving a quadratic equation, find the value of x. So let's see how we're going to get this worked out. That's x, so the area of the square B, so that's going to be an x squared. So if we have area of that bit then is x squared. Just give me a second. So that's the area of B. The area of A, what's that distance there? That's going to be 24 minus x, and that's going to be 8. So that's 24 minus x, and that's 8. So the area of B then is 24 minus x upon 8. And they're also saying then that the area of this is 4 times the area of this. So if I times this one by 4, it will give me that. So that means 4x squared equals 8 upon 24 minus x. That gives me 4x squared equals 8 times 24, which is 192 minus 8x. Hope you can see this is a quadratic equation. Get everything to the one side, plus 8x minus 192 equals 0. That's how we solve quadratics, to get it equal to 0. This one now does divide by 4, which makes your life much easier. X squared plus 2x, divide that by 4 then, minus 48 equals 0. I'm then looking for two numbers then that multiply together to give minus 48, and they add together to give 2. So it's going to be x plus 8 and x minus 6. That means x is minus 8, which doesn't seem like a reasonable length, or x equals 6. And so the answer then is going to be x equals 6. Question 17. A solid prism has base OAB, the sector of a circle, and height 20 centimeters. Radius of OA is 8 and angle AOB is 50 degrees. Calculate the total surface area of the prism. So we need to work out then the arc length. If we can find the arc length, and times it by 20. That's going to give us then that wee curved bit. We then need to find the area of this sector, times that by 2, and then with two rectangles here which are 8 by 20 then on the other side. So we're curved surface area first. Curved surface area. Let's see if we find in our arc length. Arc AB is equal to 2 pi r times 50 over 360. So it's 2 times pi times 8 times 50 over 360. That gives me 6.98, and then so that means the curved surface area is 6.98 times then by the 20. Good to keep a number in your calculator then if you can, and that gives me 139.626. Alright, the two sides then, so it's going to be that bit there and that bit there, if you can kind of see them then on the other side. So the two sides are going to be 2 times 20 times 8, and that gives me 320. And then the sector, which is a wee slice of pizza at the top and the bottom obviously, is going to be 50 over 360 times pi r squared. 50 over 360 multiplied by pi multiplied by 64. $27.925, and then times the two sectors then. Is 55.850. So that means my total is going to be those three things added up. So that and that and that. And you get 515.48. 515.48. So just split it up into sections and work out each bit as you go. Find the equation of the straight line which is perpendicular to the line y equals 3x plus 2 and passes through the point 9,1. Give your answer in the form y equals mx plus c. If it's perpendicular, that means then the gradient is the negative reciprocal of 3, so it's going to be minus a third. That means my equation has the form y equals minus a third x plus c. And we know it goes through the point 9,1. So that means 1 equals minus a third times 9 is of course minus 3 plus c. That gives me c is 4, so I'm pretty much there. So it's y is minus a third x plus 4. Okay, question 19. A and B are points in the circumference. AC is a tangent, that's okay, and BAC is 2x. Find the size of angle AOB in terms of x, giving a reason for each stage of your working. Kind of an awkward one here, but we need to actually add a couple of lines in. And if we add in this here, then the alternate segment theorem, tells us that this angle here is equal to this angle here. And it says give a reason for each stage of your working. So it says it down here. So if we go alternate segment theorem, then angle BAC is equal to, I've just added in a D there, ADB, and that's in those two angles. One of our other circle theorems obviously says that this is the angle in the circumference and this is angle at the center, because it says the center, so that's going to be twice that. So if we just then say that, so then angle at center equals 2 times angle at circumference. So ADB equals 2x. That gives us then AOB equals 4x. And I think that sort of explains then what we're doing. So that's 4x. Question 20 then, factorise 2x squared minus 5xy minus 3y squared. I guess you're kind of looking, so it's just 2 and minus 3, it's kind of like a minus 6, a bit like the one we did earlier, and then adding, so you're multiplying to give minus 6 and adding then to give minus 5. So if they add to give minus 5, multiply to give minus 6, they must be minus 6 plus 1. So it's going to be 2x squared minus 6xy plus xy minus 3y squared. If we then kind of factorize this bit here, 2x upon x minus 3y, and then that has to be x minus 3y, and obviously then x minus 3y, then again plus a y. So I think we're there. So it's 2x plus y upon x minus 3y. Question 21. Jack says the distance from Larndale on a scale of 110 miles to the nearest miles he drove. This distance at an average speed of 45 miles per hour to the nearest 5 miles per hour. Calculate the least amount of time the journey could have taken. So first of all, time is distance over speed. And we want the minimum. Calculate the least amount of time. So you need to make this as small as possible and you need to make this as big as possible. So we want the minimum distance and we need the maximum speed. So the minimum distance is going to be, if that's 110 miles, would then be 105, because it has to be 105 and 115. And then the nearest miles per hour, we want that maximized, so then that's going to be 47.5. So that, give your answer in hours and minutes to the nearest minute. So this is going to be our time. So we go 105 divided by 47.5, and it gives us 2.21. So we then want 0.21 of an hour. And that's 12.6. So that's then going to be 13 minutes. So what did I do there? 0.21 times 60 gives me 0.21 of the 60 minutes, which is 12.6 minutes. So 13. So it's going to be then 2 hours and 13 minutes. Simplify this. I guess we're looking to factorize here, and that's what we'll kind of work as we work our way through. So there's a common x, a plus 2, and then you need to be careful here because there's going to be an a plus 2, I think comes out here as well. But you need to take it as a minus, so minus y a plus 2, and I guess it's just a bit of practice that I can see that the a plus 2 then will come out of that. X squared minus y squared, I hope you know, is the difference of two squares, so it's x plus y upon x minus y. This then factorizes. If we take out the a plus 2, we end up with an x minus y in the bracket, so it's x minus y upon a plus 2 all over x plus y, x minus y, and then the x minus y's cancel. So my final answer then is a plus 2 over x plus y. Solve the following equation given your answers to two decimal places. I think we're going to end up with a quadratic here, and I don't think the quadratic factorizes, otherwise I wouldn't have said then the two decimal places. So let's see how we get on. So we need to multiply top and bottom of this one by x plus 2. So it's a bit of work here. Minus 3 upon x plus 2 all over x plus 4. X plus 2 minus 2x plus 1 x plus 4 all over x plus 4 x plus 2, and that all equals 3. Then put it all on the common denominator, so of x plus 4 x plus 2 x minus 3 x plus 2 minus 2x plus 1 x plus 4 equals 3. So just tread carefully here, because we're going to do this, take away all of this. So I'm actually going to keep this in a bracket, even though whenever I multiply out the FOIL. So just kind of be careful of this. So it's x squared, and then outer and inner is the outer is 2x minus 3x, so that's minus x, and then minus 6. Take away 2x squared, that's an 8 plus a 1 plus 9x, and then plus 4. And then here we're going to have x squared, outer and inner, plus 6x plus 8, and that equals 3. I'm going to do a couple of moves here at once. I hope you're okay with this. I'm going to do this, take away this, and then going to multiply up, then like this. X squared minus 2x squared gives me minus x squared. Minus x minus 9x is minus 10x, and minus 6 minus 4 is minus 10. Times in this then by the 3 gives me 3x squared plus 18x plus 24. Adding everything then so we get it all on the one side. So I'm going to move everything over then to this side here. Gives me 4x squared plus 28x plus 34 equals 0. And now I'm going to use the formula. A is 4, B is 28, and C is 34. So again, the formula is on the sheet if you need it. Quadratic formula, I'll show you here, is there. So x equals minus b, so it's minus 28 plus or minus the square root of 28 squared. Take away 4 upon 4, which is the a, upon 34, which is the c, and then that's all over 8. X equals minus 28 plus or minus the square root of 28 squared equals, take away 4 times 4 times 34 equals, that's 240, and then that's all over 8. And again, if you put those into your calculator, you should get two answers out. So if we go for minus 28 plus square root of 240, no, we'll need to redo it and do it as a fraction then. Minus 28 plus square root of 240 all over 8, minus 1.56. And you can take my word for it then for the other ones. So it's minus 1.56, and then that's 5.44. Fairly tough question working your way through, but it comes up all the time, and it's a fairly standard procedure to work your way through, so definitely one worth knowing and knowing how to do. Finally then, kind of question 24. The histogram shows the prices of television sold online 1 month. I'm going to just zoom out here very slightly, very inelegantly, so you can see, get an idea, at least you can see the whole thing. 150 televisions cost less than 600. And then if we go on then to the next page, calculate the number of televisions costing between 900 and 1200. Okay, so a couple of different ways to think about this. So it says 150 TVs cost less than £600. So that's this bit here. And those then are those areas. So those areas then are going to give us then 150. So that distance there is 100, and that's 100, and that goes to 4, and that goes to 11. So I can see, because that's 4 and those are 11 wee squares, that kind of goes up then to 15. I hope that makes sense. So if we want the area of this then to be 150, then 100 times that's going to be the 0.4. So it just effectively means this is 0.5. This is 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, and 4.5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just to check that I'm right. And let's just check that I am right. So that would be 0.4 times 100. Of course, we know what this is. It's a very straightforward sum. So that would be 40 there. And then that would be 110. And so that's my way of working out. I hope that makes sense. It can be kind of quite tough to get your head around what's going on there. Alright. Calculate the number of televisions costing between 900 and 1200. So the 900 one goes to 4.2. So it's 4.2 times 100. So it's 4.2 times 100. And then plus up to 1200, so they just want this bit here. So that's going to be 200 times 1.2. 1.2 times 200. So obviously, if you do your sums in on that one, let me see, 4.2 times 100 is going to be 420. 1.2 times 200 is going to be 240, isn't it? So the answer then would be 660. We end up with that. A stratified sample is taken. Given that 11 televisions are sampled from the 500 to 600 group, find the number of televisions in the sample. So if we have 11 in this one here, then that's kind of, you know, and there's, 11 are taken from this sample, and there's obviously 110, so it's just going to be 1 and 10. I hope that makes sense. And so find the number of televisions in the sample. So the total then, let me see, is going to be 100 times 0.4, so that's going to give me 40. That's going to be 110. 100 times 1.5 is going to be 150. 200 times 3 is going to be 600. 100 times 4.2 is going to be 420, and then 300 times 1.2 is equal to then 360. So if we do then those sums, so we have 150 plus 150 plus 600 plus 420 plus 360, and I get 1680. My working out's not great for this, but let's see if we just write it as 40 plus 110 plus 150 plus 600 plus 420 plus 360, and that gives me 1680. I mean, you can kind of see if it's 1 in every 10, I know the answer is going to be 168, but my sample then was 110, 1680 times by n, which equals 11. That's the way they've put it in the mark scheme, but for me you're just dividing by 10 there. And so the answer then is going to be 168.